Hello everyone. So in this lecture we will study about diffusionism and its various theories and its various postulates. So first of all, how did diffusionism came into being? So diffusionism developed out of dissatisfaction with unilinear evolution. That is the classical evolutionism that we studied in our previous lecture. It is a part of historicism, and its main idea was uninventive Man was uninventive, and important inventions were made only at a particular place, from where spread to rest of the world through diffusion or migration. So what is it? That important inventions were made only at a particular place. Say this is the place, and from here it spread out to the rest of the world. And how did it spread out? Through diffusion or migration. And it rejected the psychic unity of mankind, as it argued that man was naturally uninventive. So diffusionism had a few conditions, and how a trait is adopted by a culture. So any cultural group which adopts a cultural trait of other cultural group does only and only if it is meaningful and useful to it. And in course of diffusion, cultural traits may not remain in original form. They may change. Like there is a trait X might change to X bar based on the conditions of the region in which it is adopted. Okay, and process of diffusion is from the high culture to the lower culture, or from the developed to the underdeveloped. And there may be some obstacles like lack of transport and communication, or terrain, or geographical isolation of a society or a culture. And for example, we can take the Chhat Vrat in India, which originated in Aurangabad and spread to rest of the country, especially in the northern part. Or we can take the journey of Buddhism started in Gaya and Sarnath and spread to Southeast Asia, China, and rest of the Southeast Asian region or South Asian region. And now now diffusionism, it has three schools of thought. So what are these three schools of thought? One is the British, one is the German, and another is the American. Now what are the differences between these? So just remember that these basic things will remain same, whatever be the school, and the difference will lie in how they implement or how they apply the diffusion theory. Okay, so first we will start with the British school. So what is the basic argument of British school? It says that diffusionism started from Egypt, and thus it is also called pan-Egyptian or heliocentric. Heliocentric. It was led by Elliot Smith and W.J. Perry, and what it argued was, suppose this is the map of Europe, and here we have Americas. So what it argued was all cultures and civilization developed only once. And where did they develop? They developed in Egypt, because Egypt was relatively advanced due to early development of culture, uh, not agriculture, sorry, and then diffused throughout the world through diffusion and migration. So they argue that Egyptian society was more advanced than rest of the world, and from there the cultural traits diffused to other parts of the world, and all cultures thus are tied by this thread of common origin. So common origin in Egypt. These were the extreme diffusionists, as we'll see through the other school, because they consider that only in Egypt the culture evolved, not in anywhere else. So only in Egypt the culture evolved and it spread to rest of the world. So G.E. Smith, one of the first theorists of diffusion school, G.E. Smith, two important works from him. One was Origin of Civilization in 1928 and Diffusion of Culture 1933. So what did he argue? So as per G. Smith, he saw several similarities between Egyptian complex of last wall monuments associated with sun worship with that of English megaliths, and he argued that these megaliths were a crude imitation of the Egyptian stone monuments. He also saw similarities between the Egyptian monuments and the Maya pyramids, the Japanese pagoda, and the Cambodian temples. And he argued that many primitive societies did not have pyramids or monuments. That implies that there was no influence of Egypt. Now, as per G. Smith, man was older than civilization. So, in societies where civilization has not developed or there is no influence of Egyptian civilization, man is a natural man. That is, he is out of civilization. And a revolution in the life of this natural man happened when he borrowed traits from Egypt. When he borrowed traits from Egypt. Now, this was G. Smith. Second important theorist was William J. Perry. So W. G. Perry did not have a specific theoretical or a special theoretical contribution, but he was a devout supporter of Eliot, and he, in his book Children of Sun, 1928, called Egyptians as the children of sun, and the idea of sun got diffused all over the world from Egypt, and he became a universal deity. So what did William J. Perry say? That sun worship, or the idea of sun worship, started from Egypt and it spread to rest of the world, and sun thus became a universal deity. Now another important theorist in the diffusion school was W.H.R. Rivers, and as we will see in our future lectures, he was a doctor and a member of famous Torres Strait expedition of 1898, and he analyzed the psychological abilities of natives, and his work revolved around degeneration and uninventiveness of human mind. Degeneration and uninventiveness of human mind. So his work was 1912 article disappearance of useful arts. So what did he argue? He argued that man is generally uninventive and loses the capability. And how and this is called degeneration. How did he explain it? In his work 1914 work History of Melanesian Society, He argued that Melanesians did not have chaos, okay, but they must have known about this technology or the development or building of canals, because without them they could not have reached there in the first place. But this guild died later on due to degeneration. Now, like all other theories, this theory has had also its share of weaknesses or critique. One of them was that they were unable to account for independent invention because they considered human mind to be basically uninventive. They took into account only the material aspects of culture, and the most important critique is that they considered world civilization as gift of Egypt, ignoring other contemporary civilization of the world. And also they were anti-evolutionist. How? Because they believed that inventions only took place once at a certain place, that is Egypt.